Hello and welcome to another episode of our JavaScript series. In this video, you will learn how to change the character case of a string using JavaScript. To change characters to lowercase, we use the toLowerCase method, and for uppercase characters, we use the toUpperCase method. Now let's see how this works. Inside snippet, inside Chrome Developer Tools, I'm going to create a variable name, and then I'm going to set it to equal to a string. I'm just going to use my name in lowercase, and then close this off with a semicolon. Now I want to turn this string from lowercase to uppercase, and to do that I'm going to use the toUpperCase method. Now to do that, the first thing I have to do is to specify the name of the variable. Next comes the method, the toUpperCase method. Say toUpperCase, let's use autocomplete, and then a set of round brackets, very important, and then we close this off with a semicolon. Now let's click Control Enter to run this snippet and go into console to check the outcome. Now as you can see, the name is now printed in uppercase, although here it is in lowercase, which means that we have managed to transform this string from lowercase to uppercase using the toUpperCase method. But I want you to see what happens when I type the name of the variable and then click enter. The name gets printed in lowercase. Why is that? This is because the value of this variable has not been saved. So we've not saved the name of this variable. And to do that, let's go into sources. We will have to say here name equals to name, which is the old version of this variable, the old version of name, dot toUpperCase. Now let's once again run this snippet and then go back to console, and then I'm going to type the name of the variable name and then click enter. Now this time around the name is printed in uppercase, and this is because we have saved the changes that we have made to the string. So we can also do this the other way around. For example, I can just come back here inside sources and then change the case of the string from lowercase to uppercase. So it will be uppercase all. And then here I'm just going to change the method. I'm going to replace upper with lower, like so. So it will be to lower case. Now Control Enter to run the script. Now check inside console. Now the string is now in lowercase. Even if I just type the name of the variable and then click enter, as you can see, the name is in lowercase, although here it is in uppercase. So which means we've managed this time around to transform this string from uppercase to lowercase. Now being able to use JavaScript to transform the character case of strings is very important, especially if, for example, you want to ask users to type their names and you want their names to be saved in, let's say, uppercase, even when they've typed in lowercase. Now, I have a challenge for you. I want you to create a prompt that asks the user for their name and then send them an alert with the first letter of their name in uppercase, even if they've typed their name in lowercase. Please pause the video and try to complete this challenge. Now, how did that go? Congrats if you managed to complete it successfully, but if it challenged you somehow, it's okay. We'll go through this one together. I'm going to just remove everything here, and then to complete this challenge, we are going to break it down into smaller pieces. Now I'm going to write down the steps that we are going to follow. So I'm going to start by writing them, and then I'll explain everything once I'm done. Now these are the steps that we are going to follow. First, we are going to create a variable, and then we are going to tie that variable to a prompt. So that will be our first step. Next, we will have to capitalize the first letter. Okay, so to capitalize the first letter, the first thing that we will have to do is to isolate that first character. After we have isolated the first character, then we have to turn that first character to uppercase. And then next we will have to isolate the rest of the name. Remember, we want to make sure that when we turn the first character of the string to uppercase, that the rest of the characters do not also turn to uppercase. So in order for us to achieve that, we'll have to isolate the rest of the characters of that name. And then lastly, under step number 2, we will have to concatenate now the first character that we would have first turned to uppercase with the rest of the characters. Now the third step, step number 3, we will use the capitalized version of the name to greet the user using an alert, and that will be the final step. Now let's start with the first step. Now here, the first thing that I am going to do here, I'm going to create a variable name here, and then I'll set it to equal to a prompt. Okay, remember, we create a variable and then we are tying it to a prompt. Now the prompt is going to ask the user to provide their name. It's going to ask, what is your name? Like so. Let's close this off with a semicolon here and create space here. Now let's just click Control Enter to put this to a test to check if it's working. So it's working fine. Here is that the prompt, what is your name? Let's just use a name here. Let's type, for example, let's say the user is Michael, like so, and then let's click Enter. Now let's check inside console here. Okay, let's first start by refreshing and start from scratch. Okay, now we are putting this prompt to a test. So we are going to click once again. Let's just redo this. Let's type Michael and then click OK. Go into console and put this to a test. Let's just type name, click Enter. There we go. We have Michael printed in lowercase like it was here inside as we responded inside that prompt. So here is Michael. This is working fine. Now back to sources. The next step is to capitalize the first letter of the name. The first thing that we need to do is to isolate the first character of the name. So let's isolate the first character of the name. To isolate the first character of the name, the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a variable, and then I'm going to name this variable first character, like so, and then I'm going to set it to equals name. Remember, this is the name of the variable where the letter that we want to turn into uppercase or isolate this time around is in, and then we are going to use the slice method to isolate this first character. So we are going to say the dot slice and then a pair of round brackets here. Now we have to be specific in terms of from which position up to which position in that string do we want to slice. Okay, so we are going to slice this string from the character at position 0 up to but not including the character at position 1. Okay, so let's close this off with a semicolon, and then we are going to put this to a test to check if we have managed to slice out the first character of the name. So let's click Control Enter and then type in the name Michael again. Okay, and then let's click OK, go to console and then type first character. Okay, let's use autocomplete. This will speed up the process for us, and then click Enter. There we go. We have managed to isolate the first character, that is the first letter M of Michael. We have managed to successfully isolate it by using the slice method and specifying which positions or which characters positions that we wanted to slice. So that is fine. Now we move along to step 2b. Now step 2b, we have to turn the first character that we have just isolated to uppercase. Now to do that, once again, I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to say var, and then I'm going to name this variable uppercase first character. I think that will find uppercase first character, like so. And then I'm going to set this to equal first character. So this is the first character, remember. Okay, so I'm going to say here first character. All right, first character dot toUpperCase. Okay, this is the method that we are using to turn this character, first character, to uppercase. Very important, those pair of round brackets here, and then we close this off with a semicolon, like so. Now let's go back again and put this to a test to check if everything is working fine. So control enter. Let's use our example user Michael again, and then click OK. Now this time around we are going to be checking the uppercase first character if it is transformed or turned to uppercase. Okay, so let's go into console and then type to upper. I think I made a mistake. Let me check. Oh, uppercase first character, that's the name of the variable. Uppercase first character, uppercase first character, like so. Enter. Now there we go. As you can see, we have managed to turn the first character which is M to uppercase by using the toUpperCase method right here. Now 2b, that is the next step. The next step will be to isolate the rest of the name. So how do we isolate the rest of the name? The first thing that I'm going to do in order to achieve that, I'm going to create a variable. Okay, variable. I'm going to name this rest of name, like so, and I'm going to set the rest of name to name. This is the name of the variable. Okay, remember this is the rest of this is the name. Remember, the name is equal to anything that is typed inside that prompt. Okay, so we are going to say rest of name is equal to name name dot. Okay, remember this time around what we want to do is to isolate the rest of the name. So we are once again going to use the slice method. Okay, we are going to use the slice method, a pair of round brackets right there. Now earlier when we isolated the first character, we were specific to say we want to slice or grab the character at position 0 up to, but not including the character at position 1. This time around we are going to slice from position 1. So we're going to slice from position 1 up to, now we don't know up to which position, because names have different numbers of characters. For example, Sam has fewer characters than Michael. Okay, so in order to be able to slice the rest of the name, we are going to use the length method. So we're going to say name dot length. Okay, why do we use the length? So what we are saying with this code here, we are actually saying that we want to slice from the character at position 1, and then the following up to depending on the length of the name. So that is done. Let's just check if this is working. So I'm just going to create a bit of space here and then click Control Enter. Let's type again the name of our user, Michael. Okay, now let's go to console and check if rest of name is isolated. All right, let me type rest of name. There we go. We have managed to isolate the rest of the name. As you can see, it says here EKL. Okay, so without that M, so we've managed to isolate the rest of the characters of that name. Now that is fine. Let's go back to sources and see what next we need to do. The next thing is to concatenate both the first character that we tend to uppercase earlier and the rest of the characters. So let's concatenate both. So I'm going to come in here and say var. Okay, we are concatenating this time around. I'm just going to call this capitalized name. Peter. Okay, I think I made a mistake here. Okay, yeah, I'm going to call this the variable capitalized name, and then I'm going to set it to equal. Remember, I am concatenating the uppercase first character. This is the one. Okay, let me concatenate it with uppercase first character. I'm concatenating it with rest of name. Okay, so let me put the rest of name here. Rest of name like so, and then a semicolon will come in here. Now let's run this snippet and then type the name of our user, Michael. So, and then click OK. Now let's go to console and check capitalized name. Okay, let's say capitalized name. There we go. We have now managed to concatenate the first character of the name, which is in uppercase, with the rest of the characters of this name, which are all in lowercase. Now we have to move on to the third and final step. The third step says we use the capitalized version to create a user using an alert. So let's create that alert here. Okay, let's say alert, a pair of round brackets here, and then we are doing what? We are creating the user. Let's say hello, and then create a bit of space here. And then we are going to concatenate this with the capitalized name that we have just been checking now inside console. Okay, let's put that plus operator here. That plus operator, and then capitalize the name. Like so. Okay, close this off with a semicolon. Now we are done. Let's run this snippet, Control Enter. Now let's type the name. We can just use a different name. For example, we can just say the user this time around is George. Okay, George types his name in lowercase and then clicks OK. So we are creating George with his name starting with in uppercase or a capital letter and the rest of the characters in lowercase. So even if maybe we were even going to use another example, let's just put in another example. Let's say the name of the user this time around is Stephen. Stephen is also using small letters to type his name. Let's click. There we go again. We are able to create Stephen with his name now typed in, starting with a capital letter S and the rest of the characters in lowercase. And that is what we wanted to achieve. So now what if the user, for example, the user, let's say the user is the user's name is Elizabeth, and then Elizabeth starts typing the her name in small letters, okay, Elizabeth, and then towards the end there he makes a mistake of typing the last three characters of his name in caps, like so. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's click OK. You'll see that Elizabeth's name, the first character of the name is turned to capital or to uppercase, okay, which is what we want. And but at the end there, the characters of the last three characters are in uppercase, and this is not how we want. What we want is for only the first character to be in uppercase and the rest of the characters to be in lowercase. Now, how do we achieve that? Now, in order to achieve that, we will have to go to step 2. Under step 2, we would have to add another step. So let's add under C here. Let's add D. I'm just going to add D here, like so. Okay, D, which means here this will be step E. Okay, like so. Let me just move this up a bit so that you're able to see what I'm doing here. So what I want to ensure is that when the user types the name, whatever they do towards the end or in the middle of their name, even if they make a mistake of including uppercase characters, the rest of the characters should be in lowercase, and only the first character of the name should be in uppercase. Now, to ensure that, the first thing that I'm going to do here, I'm going to say rest of name. Okay, I'm going to do that here. I'm going to create a variable. Okay, all right, let me just create space here. Okay, I'm going to create a variable, and then I'm going to name this variable. I'm actually going to say rest of name. I'm using the variable that we this variable here. I'm actually not creating a variable, I beg your pardon. So I'm just going to say rest of name, because we already have this variable, remember. So I'm just going to say rest of name, okay, is equals to rest of name. Okay, this should be in low. Is equals to rest of name dot, remember the toLowerCase method, toLowerCase method, and those brackets. You remember when we started off, I typed the name of the variable to test if it is saved in lower or uppercase, and we found that we were unable to save the changes. And in order to save the changes, what we did is that we put in the name of the variable, and we said it's equal to the old version of that variable, and then the dot to lowercase, and that enabled us to save the changes that we made to the string. So this should also help us to save the changes that we make to the string. And in this case, it will ensure that if the user makes a mistake of typing some of the characters in the middle of the name in uppercase, we will able to turn them into lowercase to ensure that it is only the first character of their name that is in uppercase, while the rest of the characters are in lowercase. Now let's check if this is working or not. I'm going to click Control Enter, and then let's say Elizabeth types the name like it did. Okay, and towards the end there, he makes a mistake and types those three characters in uppercase. Now let's click OK. Now there we go, everything is fine right now. It is only the first character of the name that is in uppercase. All or the rest of the characters are in lowercase, and that is despite the fact that she made a mistake and typed the last three characters of her name in uppercase. So everything is working fine. And if the way you completed this challenge is different from how I did it, it's okay, because what matters at the end of the day is the final result. What you will find is that there are even shorter ways of completing this challenge, but what I like about how I did it is that, this way teaches us to break down a challenge into smaller pieces in order to resolve it, which is an important skill. With that, we've come to the end of our discussion of how to change the character keys of a string using JavaScript. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.